The fruit of the tree of life probably had an antidote to the bacteria that was introduced by the tree that they were forbidden to eat of, and that had they eaten of that tree, it would have stopped the catabolic forces, and man would just go on living in this body without aging, without the cells breaking down. And so the Lord prevented him from the second disaster would have been to have eaten of the tree of life and live forever in a sinful body. So somewhere or other, the Lord transplanted this tree, and it would seem that it is now in heaven. And to him that overcomes, I will give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. It was once in the midst of the Garden of Eden, now in the midst of the paradise of God. Church of Ephesus. Now we move to the church of Smyrna. These are churches that are in what is the present day of Turkey. And you can go and visit the sites of these churches in Turkey. We took a couple of trips to Turkey, the visits to the 7 churches, and we found it quite interesting. Unto the angel of the church in Smyrna, write, these things saith the first and the last. That's his description in chapter 1. Which was dead and is alive. So Christ describing himself as the messenger, or the one who is sending the message. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not. They are actually the synagogue of Satan. Don't fear any of those things which you will suffer. Behold, the devil will cast some of you into prison, that you might be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days, but be faithful unto death. I'll give you a crown of life. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches, and he that overcomes will not be hurt of the second death. Historically, the church of Smyrna is the church that existed from about the year 100 to 316 or so. The church that underwent horrible persecution. Actually, it began a little earlier. It began probably around 70 or so, the persecution of the church by the Roman government. It speaks about being having tribulation for 10 days. And some believe that it refers to the 10 emperors of Rome that did so much persecution against the church. An estimated 6 million Christians were martyred during this period of history. Nero, from 64 to 68. Under Nero, Paul was beheaded. Peter was crucified upside down. Under Domitian, 95 and 96, John was exiled to Patmos during this period of time. The Emperor Trajan, from 104 to 117, Ignatius was burned at the stake. Marcus Aurelius, 161 to 180, during his reign, Polycarp was martyred. Severus, Maximinus, Decius, Valerian, Aurelian, and Diocletian were emperors of Rome that brought persecution against the church, and during this period of time to 313, the church underwent horrible persecution. As we mentioned, some 6 million martyrs because of their faith in Jesus during this period of history. Again, the Lord says to Smyrna, I know your works and tribulation and poverty. But he said, you're really rich. Now, this is in contrast to the church of Laodicea, which we will get next week, where they were saying, we are rich, we're increased with goods, we have need of nothing. But the Lord said, you're wretched, you're miserable, you're poor, you're blind. Here, the church of Smyrna, the opposite. I know your poverty, but indeed, truly, you are rich. The Lord measures riches not by your bank account, but by your relationship with Him. Rich in faith. The blasphemy of those that say they are Jews and are not. They're actually the synagogue of Satan. The word Jew represents really Judaism, a faith in God and the worship of God. And there are those who say they are Jews. They are nationally, but spiritually they are not. And they are actually the synagogue of Satan. It is a mistake to think of Israel as a godly nation. It is not. Israel is a very secular nation. They will become a godly nation when God does deliver them in the war against Russia and Iran and other Muslim nations. That will turn them to the Lord. But right now they are a secular nation, and though they keep a lot of the Jewish traditions, the service of God and all is not something that is really in their hearts. And so the Lord said, I know the blasphemy of those that say they are Jews, but are actually the synagogue of Satan. Now, fear none of those things which you will suffer. They're going to suffer. They're going to be martyred. It's going to be a rough time. And behold, the devil so cast some of you into prison. Interestingly enough, John was in prison when he was writing this. Be thou faithful unto death. Going to put you to death, but I will give to you a crown of life. He that hath an ear to hear. Now, notice when Jesus describes himself up in verse 8, I am the first and the last. I was dead and I am alive. They're going to put you to death, but I will give you a crown of life. And he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying unto the churches. For he that overcometh will not be hurt of the second death. A person who is born once can die twice. A person who is born twice dies once. If you're born again, you will die once. But if you're not born again, you'll die twice. The second death. This will happen when death and hell deliver